if a similar situation happened to Kamala, it would for sure be 2 weeks of news coverage.
It would be the freaking
especially trying to assassinate a woman.
Oh yeah. Oh.
We are back.
We're running a show here. What's it called?
I forgot what it's called. Last American Podcast.
It almost isn't a make, but it's a Last American Podcast.
Very similar to a prior show you should check out on YouTube.
We're looking savvy. So a lot of stuff has happened so far.
They tried to shoot Trump again, but nobody cares about that.
They don't really. I don't even know if we should talk about it. So like whatever. Like this guy with an AK-47 with the scope in the bushes, dude. Charlie in the trees. You know, that's just one for the history books. But we don't care about that.
Well, I just thought it's weird that nobody talks about, like, if a similar situation happened to Kamala, it would for sure be 2 weeks of news coverage.
It would be the freaking
especially trying to assassinate a woman.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! This would be all over every news station, 24/7. There could be a Russian involvement. Maybe Iran is on the point. Like could be so many features to this. It could be insane. Like, and then they're like, well, first thing we need to do is take everybody's guns.
Yeah.
And like everybody in America needs to get rid of their guns, and we need to rid the country of the Second Amendment. That does, like, because she's like, oh, I almost died. Like, this has never happened before. A president's never been shot. That's a woman. Like, so, like, this is the new world we're living in.
I just think it's weird. Like I said, I'm just really perplexed that the media, I mean, minimal coverage, and even again, the second time they were like, they wouldn't even say it was a shooting. Again, the second time they were like, popping sounds were heard. Yeah. We need to wait to confirm. And also, what were there was no news coverage, so I didn't really see anything. But what were the popping sounds? Because they got the guy into custody. So I'm like, what?
I actually know this because I listened a little further down on the news reports. The story started with there's been gunfire around Trump's golf course. And then they're like, we don't know if Trump's there. So there's just like gunfire around Trump's golf course. Then they're like, Trump was there and there was gunfire around Trump's golf course. Then they're like, possible an attack on Trump, maybe. And then they're like, okay, we found the gun. He ran. We found him. Some guy, like, hey, one of our agents that didn't sweep the area noticed that there's a barrel in the bushes, and they're like, "What's the barrel from?" Oh, it's the guy with the gun. Oh, it's an AK-47. Oh, we should try to shoot him. And that's what the popping sound was: is the agent shooting at the guy.
What's going on with the Secret Service, man? Like, I know everybody works from home from COVID, but like the Secret Service needs to stop working remote. And they need to like show up. They're like on a Zoom call, like scanning the area. You know, it's like what is going on
What's
here?
funny is I don't know who's doing the worst job. There could be so many people in contention with this, including Bill Gates. It's the Boeing or is it the Secret Service? Like literally just the collapse of like American institutions.
I mean, dude, if I was in Donald Trump's situation, I'd be like, look, guys, like, I gotta bring in my own.
Yeah, like I would have like total Blackbriar, like secret, you know, like assassins.
And that's what RFK's wife did after she was like, the Secret Service can't protect me. They're not good enough. And the guy she married was some like oil oligarch, and they like took his his bodyguards over the Secret Service. You know, he had like an army of them, but it was just like apparently they've been like incompetent for years.
It's the Secret Service is a freaking deep dive. The Secret Service is involved with money counterfeiting, like all kinds of things that we're not aware of, and the fact that they're this inept at just doing like regular security, then you're like, wait, so they're like protecting us from counterfeiting? How's that going? Like, how's that going? Oh, by the way, inflation is like 1,000%. Counterfeiting.
I'm sure they
the
got.
counterfeiting division of the
I'm sure
Secret
they
Service
got like
is
a.
doing great.
The counterfeiting department's like also spearheading like the Haitian cat eating department. It's like nothing has happened that we're aware of.
Yeah, like it's just insane. Like, oh, there's a surprise amount of new yachts in like Monaco. You know, like people just have flush with American dollars, and the Secret Service is just like, whatever. So I don't know what to say about that. That's kind of what we're into. But changing the tune, the Fed, in their infinite wisdom, another great division, has this Jerome Powell has decided to cut rates not by 0.25%, by 0.5%, which is aggressive. And you told me about this, by the way. He's on the gun on this.
So it's funny because it's weird that he announced the rate cut prior. And he's like, next month we're going to start cutting rates, and then everybody's like, quarter basis point seems reasonable if you're going to start taking the rates down. And then the speculation was if he took it a half point down, that they waited too long and they're being more reactive than proactive with dropping the rates. Yeah. Still, it's not substantial in either way, but it was funny the way the stock market reacted today. Because before the meeting, I was up 1%. Then the meeting happened, I was down 1%. And then after the meeting, it spiked, dropped back down, and nobody knew what to do. They're like, is this bad? You know, like it was kind of funny. Ultimately, I don't think it's a good move. I think they should have kept interest rates even higher and for longer, which would have crumbled the economy. But that's ultimately what needs to happen. You have to get the money out of the economy to slow down inflation, in my eyes.
Inflation is still going. People, it's so weird how they count it because they're like, well, it stopped going up, therefore it's a victory. Basically, it's like hiking at top of a mountain. It's like hiking to the top of Mount Baldy, getting to the top and be like, all right, like this is sea level now. And you're like, what?
Printing that much money throughout COVID, and then when they printed that much money. Before any of this started, I said they're going to have to take interest rates to 10%, which apparently 6% everybody cried about. Really, in my eyes, didn't affect anything. The housing market's still high. Stock market's still at all-time high.
The housing market's gone up. It's like crazy.
Yeah, so it's like okay, so with everything still continuing to grow, and then Jerome Powell specifically said his goal is to get inflation to 2%. And then once it broke into 2.9% territory, he was like 2%, not 2.9, 2%. And then now it's 2.5, and he's like, that's good enough. We're going to drop the rates. And it's like, I don't know if it's politically influenced.
It's completely political.
It's
more than just political because it's not just like, oh, I have to like help the Democrats. It's more like, I think that people will rehire me if I take the rates down, even though this is bad for America. Well, basically everybody in politics is bad for America. So like it's literally just about saving his job, and it's like, oh, people really want this, even though I know it's a bad idea because of like literally there's still too much money in the system. But I'd rather save my job than like hurt America. Like
it's weird because every business I've ever worked for, instead of being a cash flow positive company and operating with money you have, everybody has these loans, and like all these companies that don't make money are able to operate because they've got a revolving interest loan on the back end.
Well, if you ever watch like the restaurant, the Savior restaurant things, when when that guy comes in, John Tapp, he always comes in and he goes, how much, what do you deal with? I'm $200,000 in debt. Yeah. And you're like, I'm losing $1,000 a month. Yeah. And you're like, why would you do this? Why wouldn't you just like stop the business at zero?
Yeah.
It's a wrap.
And that's what most businesses do is they don't, they're not really profitable and they're trying to grow. And, in my eyes, it's like, look, if you're not making any money,
Somehow all the tech companies were able to do it, though.
Well, that's literally because of getting loans and people believing in their future. It's like, hey, I'll give you $50 million because I think robot dog walking is going to be the next big thing. And then you're like, I've got this amazing company.
Right.
It's a growing startup. Is robotic dog walking going to be the next thing? I really don't know.
Right.
But you're not generating any money.
Right.
And you're only got a investor or a bank or somebody loaning you the money. So it's I don't know. I just don't believe in operating cash flow negative. But a lot of Americans and a lot of business people love to take on
including
debt.
Trump, by the way.
Yeah.
Who wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
He's shows up to a business meeting with all the banks he owes money to. He owes like $500 billion to these banks. Walks in and shakes everybody's hand, gives him his book, The Art of the Deal, and he's like, so what are we doing today? And they're like, how are you going to pay off this loan? And he's like, we're going to work together.
Yeah, it's just...
I actually heard that this
my prediction is for the interest rates going back is what I think will happen is inflation picks back up. Just like it did in Canada and a couple other countries in Europe was like they released interest rates too low or too early.
What does that even mean for us? It's already insane.
Well, they don't count
how much is McDonald's going to cost?
Well, they don't count. Okay, so they don't count the time where the McChicken was $1.
Yeah.
They don't count the time where the McChicken spiked up to $5, and then now, as long as it doesn't go more than $5.10 in the next year, they're winning the war on inflation, and they're not really looking for deflation. So. Like I said, I don't think it's a good move.
Let's try turning into a finance talk because I really want to talk about something that also has to do with inflation, which is the reason why it went so high to begin with wasn't just there was cash in the system, which there was, but it's also there was a bottleneck because of Joe Biden's incompetence in running America, and people couldn't put their stuff into on trucks and stuff, and there was all kinds of problems in the trucker protests and all this stuff. And on top of that, there was 2 different wars, which literally kind of messes up the world trade.
But speaking of these wars, there's more important. Okay. Did you see Vladimir Putin say, if you guys keep giving weapons, if NATO keeps giving weapons to Ukraine that can seriously hurt Russia, then he's considering himself at war with NATO.
Oh, shit.
Which is that's
what we're doing, by the way.
I don't know. I kind of feel like Russia is kind of full of it. I mean, they talk a big game.
I know.
They really got kind of wrecked by Ukraine.
I don't. Well, here's the problem: is it's hard to discuss Russia versus Ukraine because it's really like you versus your sister or something it's very close. The capital of Ukraine is Kiev, or Kiev is in Russian, Kiev in Ukrainian. And that was the capital of the USSR. Literally, so the idea that he was going to blow up Kiev was crazy. He's I don't want to blow up the city. I want to take the city, right? So the idea that he's going to go to war with Ukraine is kind of crazy. It's he thought they were just going to surrender and be oh, we're Russian again. Who cares, right? That's in his mind. He's no one really wants to be Ukrainian anyways. So this whole war happened. He's fuck. How am I gonna do this without destroying the entire city? So I figured out this. He had to destroy Aleppo completely, and that was in Syria, but he had to Mariupol. He had to destroy Mariupol to the dust, just destroy the entire city to prove a point. And then now he's so am I gonna just destroy the rest of Ukraine too? Is this the? But so the idea that he could be at war with NATO is a different thing because now he's I don't give a fuck about Germany or the other country. I'll turn the whole fucking country into dust.
And you just go through put salt in the soil and just take it
just to clear the fucking land. So it's a different thing because it's a difference between fighting your brother and fighting a fucking stranger. And you literally what happened after World War II with the Red Army, they fucked up everybody. They're the Nazis almost murdered everybody, including my grandma. So I don't give a shit about anybody here. I don't give a shit about the Lithuanians. I don't give a shit about Germans. I don't give a shit about nobody.
The swear count, you're gonna have to add so many things.
Yeah. Anyway, it's turning into a war episode all of a sudden. And so the idea that they can go to war with NATO, although they really blew it on the war with Ukraine, like in so many ways. Like, remember that big convoy that was like 2 miles long of like trucks?
Yeah.
That they left there for like a week with nobody moving? And you're like, what are you?
They ran out of gas.
What are you doing? Like, get a gas truck out there.
It's just like they hire all these, it's funny because like, I bet you Russia operates the same way of these like random credentials, and this guy's like in charge of military logistics, and he's like, I got a master's degree in logistics, and they're like, oh, he's competent, and then he's like, bro, you didn't put any gas in like the tanks, and like you're trying to drive.
It was the start of the war was insane, and people forget how insane it was because the Israel war has been so different. The Israel war isn't really a war; it's really just like a cat trying to attack a mouse, like. Literally, Gaza is like can't do anything, and Israel's like fuck this country up. Like,
I mean, you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. Anyways,
bringing it back to home though.
Yeah.
Did a Haitian eat a cat or not?
This is what we need to see. Like everyone dismisses it. Like, oh, of course this never happened. Only a racist would say this could be a possibility. Like nobody would. First of all, people are eating dogs in like Korea. Like it's not even that weird of a thing.
I saw the video, and I'm not 100% sure if it was a Haitian woman.
First of all, the goddamn pandemic started out with like, oh, somebody ate a bat that ate a pangolin. like, oh, by the way, people in China just eat things. Oh my god, blah, blah, blah. But no, by the way, a Haitian could never eat a cat. Like, why would they do this? Like,
but the so I saw the video, and clearly somebody ate a cat. I don't know what their heritage is, where they came from. They appear to be mentally disturbed.
By the way, I went over there and I was a little hungry.
But they're like, but it's just weird that they're like, nobody ate a cat.
Yeah.
Clearly somebody maybe mentally disturbed.
There were human fingerprints on this cat carcass. Okay.
She had blood in her teeth.
Yeah.
She could have been American. She could have been mentally disturbed. But somebody ate a cat, and we need to get to the bottom of this. And it's like, do we need to go to Springfield, Ohio, and do
It could have been planted by RFK on one of his like random jouts. Like he RFK.
Yeah, the cat could have been planted. By the Secret Service. They were doing something.
Yeah, like I just saw this video where the FBI like came to some guy's house and he was filming on his lawn or whatever, his porch, and the FBI comes up and like, hey, we're here to talk to you about something. He goes, talk to me about what? And then you guys like, we're here to talk to you about, you wrote something on the internet. He goes, yeah, that's the First Amendment. He goes, what's your name? What's your officer? He goes, are you filming this? Oh, I don't want to be on film. He goes, you're a freaking federal officer. Like, this is no big... And he goes, identify yourself. He goes, nah, we're cool. And they just walk away. He goes, yeah, because you're... I don't want to say it, but you guys are a bunch of traitor, cunt, blah, 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 right? And he's talking to these FBI agents. And you're like... Wow, dude, this is like the new America where you can just like film the FBI, trash them, and then Elon likes it, and then it gets like 150,000 likes on the internet, and you're just like, wow, dude, this guy's making like $95K, and his life is on blast, dude.
You know what's so funny is, speaking of not wanting to talk to the police, did you see that football player recently?
Tyree Hill.
Yeah, Tyree Hill. It was so funny because the police show up. And you know what? I don't know what happened prior, but then Tyree's like, he's talking to the cop, and then he just rolls up his window, which
typical thing to do.
I wasn't worried.
And by the way, it's like the most blacked out window of all time.
And then the cop is like still talking to him, and then the cop taps on his window, and he rolls down his window, and he's like, "Don't tap on my window," and like rolls his window back up, and I'm like, I had no idea that this was an option with the police interaction. I've always pulled over, rolled down my window, greeted the officer, and I haven't been arrested in an angry manner,
Well, you're acting like this is a good scenario, which if you watch the rest of the video, he gets manhandled, and then he cries about it, and then like the whole thing starts off with him saying like, they took it too far, and I'm a black man in America, and this could never happen, I can't believe they were still doing this. And then the video comes out, and you're like, dude, you're acting like a clown.
Yeah.
Like, this is insane.
Don't tap on my window. Don't tap on my window.
This is insane. Like even like we're not, no, we're not police or whatever, and you're like, this guy is going in on these people.
Yeah, it was definitely.
This is the new world we're living in. We got the Federal Reserve doing funny business. We got the Secret Service. We got the FBI, and we got the police are the best looking ones of the whole bunch.
Yeah, like really, like nobody's getting the only like federal or the only like service group that's really like not getting any flack is like, and even paramedics are kind of gone, but like the firefighters are Hank's like the only group that's not really getting any slack from anybody, and it's weird because like only in Los Angeles now you never see an ambulance. There's like only this like third party ambulance company coming to save you. There's never like a city of Los Angeles ambulance anymore.
Well, when you're trying to be saved, you want someone to be paid $17 an hour. That's what you're looking at. You're like a straight out of El Camino College. You're looking at this kid. You're like, I'm dying. He's like, what?
Just smoked a joint. He's
like, by the way, this is like my 15th hour worker right now.
Yeah.
Like,
it's really weird that we've outsourced the ambulance portion, and now essentially firefighters have just become paramedics.
By the way, if you ever call any emergency number, there will be like 25 people, bare minimum, show up where you were at. And then continue to just stand around, like we saw one last night. Just stand around and talk and caravans and like just basically shoot the shit with their coworkers, and they're like, "Hey, what were you doing last week?" And there's like a whole bunch of them on the lawn and inside and outside.
What's funny is my dad's gonna love this, but one time my dad got locked out of his house, and he's an elderly diabetic, and I was like, "Hey, I just need someone." I called. He called me to help him, and I had been drinking, and I was like, "Hey, I can't drive over there to help you."
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, my diabetes, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Whatever." Called the fire department. I was like, "Hey, I just need someone to go over to my dad's place and like let him in."
Right.
And I was like, "This isn't anything major. You don't need to send that many." And they were like, "Well, can't you do it?" And I was like, "No, like I'm unable to drive right now." And they were like, "Well, this isn't major." And I was like, "Well, he's a diabetic." And they're like, "He's a diabetic?" And then they sent the cavalry to go let this man back into his house, like the long fire truck, the two short fire trucks, cops, ambulances for to unlock somebody's house. And it's like, we don't have a way of like delegating just one car,
everybody's got to show. First of all, the people at the fire department aren't doing anything anyways. They are fucking chilling on the clock.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I better go outside. Hang out. Let's see what's going on. So that's that. Anyways, we're out of time. So this has been a good episode.
This has been a good one.
Yeah, we've been really reeling.
All right, guys, have a good week. Like, subscribe.